When I first started competition way back in the 70s and the early 80s in the Ironman races, I really didn't know what to eat or drink during competition. We needed carbohydrates. We knew we needed energy. We needed carbohydrates. And my first source was figs. I calculated that I needed 20 figs on the bike leg to get through a 112-mile Ironman bike leg. Taking in all those figs, I remember seeing a lot of shots on the run. And at that time, I'd cut off my shirts. I had a short crop shirt, and I could see my stomach was totally distended. All the water, or at least almost all the water, was going into my stomach to try to digest those figs. Fortunately for me, I was able to get through the race without too much trouble. Well, muscular failure is caused by a lot of different things, and the one that I just cited is that you can overload your GI tract with a heavy concentration of any type of food, whether it be carbohydrate, protein, or fat. That can be disastrous. The first one is actually dehydration, and you have to watch your hydration levels to make sure that you don't get dehydrated. Your thirst mechanism actually is a fairly good indicator of when you're thirsty. The problem is that people drink too infrequently. Ideally, you should drink every 4 to 10 minutes with small sips. So when you take a drink of your fluid replacement drink, just take quick ones. Quench your thirst. If it still feels thirsty, come back to it again. The second thing is that as you start to compete, if you don't have that steady drip system of blood sugar from your fluid replacement drink or gels, then all of a sudden you can start burning off your muscle glycogen. Another way you burn off your muscle glycogen is if you're overzealous at the start of the race or at any time during the race. Now you have to keep your muscle glycogen stores stocked. Well, they don't stock up instantaneously. They stock up after 24 hours. So you have to be careful that you don't go too hard too soon. A third cause of muscular failure is that you can burn off another source of glycogen. It's called liver glycogen, and they work in harmony with the muscle and the liver. And I mentioned this to my athletes before, is that in the morning before you go out to race or to actually just train, you want to make sure that you eat because your brain actually uses some of your liver glycogen. So muscle liver glycogen are two glycogen stores that can be depleted. Also, we have protein breakdown. The harder you work, there is more protein catabolism or breakdown, and as that protein starts to break down, your body goes to that source of breaking down protein, and eventually you're going to slow down. Now, one of the things that can prevent this is that if you keep your blood proteins elevated during exercise, that the blood protein levels and the protein breakdown won't be as dramatic. Well, how do you do that? You need to have a carbohydrate and protein source in a fluid replacement drink, preferably at a ratio of 4:1 concentration. If you do that, that will keep those blood proteins a little bit higher, and it won't cause that eventual protein breakdown. Another cause of muscle failure is called mental or central fatigue. And it's a little bit tricky, but the premise behind it is that when your blood proteins start to drop due to exercise, and as they start to drop, it affects two amino acids. One's called tryptophan and the other one's called serotonin. And serotonin's in your brain. And as the serotonin levels begin to rise, we feel this malaise or this mental fatigue. And we've all felt this when we're exercising. So again, it's important that you fuel yourself during exercise to limit that muscular failure and that mental fatigue with a carbohydrate protein drink. So remember, be conscious of dehydration, number one, muscle and liver glycogen, those are 2 and 3. Blood protein levels start to fall off, which causes protein breakdown and that mental or central fatigue at the end. If we can just kind of stay on top of that, you're going to enhance your ability to sustain the highest workload for the longest period of time.